What's going on YouTube? It's your boy G-Dub back at it again with another video. Today I wanted to talk about how basically the government and everybody on the mainstream media is lying to you. So I think, and I see a lot of people out there who take what they see on the news as gospel, or what they see on TV as gospel, or what the government comes out and says as gospel truth. And it couldn't be further from the truth, because their whole idea, their whole agenda is control. They want to control you. They want to control me. They want you to do, act, and feel exactly the way they want you to. So they are going to come up with stories and headlines and have talking heads to say the things that they want.
Alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish the same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
But you're going to have to do your own due diligence and try to sift out what is real and what is nonsense. And a lot of it out there is nonsense. A lot of the headlines that you see online on YouTube, depending on who it comes from, if it comes from MSNBC, CNN, Fox, any of these mainstream media outlets, just figure that they have an agenda. They have a board that they need to answer to. They have customers who are paying them money for advertisements. They are being coerced by elites to do things that they probably normally wouldn't do. And so everything on mainstream media you need to take with a huge grain of salt. I mean, just one example, and how the government, and they'll sit there and lie to you, is look at the fires. Now, I live in California, I live in Los Angeles. I'm probably about an hour away from the Pacific Palisades. And when they burned down in February, one of the biggest talking points that they had said was that they are going to pass all sorts of bills and laws that are going to make it to where those people are going to be able to get permits easier and faster. There's federal permits and then there's state permits. Now, supposedly the federal permits, they've paved a way for people to get quick permits that way. But when it comes to the state permits, and with Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, they said that there would be permits readily available. They were going to cut the red tape. They were going to stop all the nonsense and make it super easy for people to rebuild. And so also the insurance companies are lying, and they are trying their best to not pay out money. And so you'll have the news telling you, oh no, this isn't going to be that big of a deal. It's okay. There was no water, and oh, it just happened to work out that way. I've seen that they have already said that the water and the reservoirs still hasn't been filled. And so the reservoirs haven't been filled. We had fires that destroyed, causing billions of dollars of just regular residents and homes to go burn down. And now the people, they've been trying to fight and get permits and get money to build their house, and it's becoming so tough that the people are leaving. So the TV and the news will tell you like, oh no, everything is going to be good and it's okay. But in all reality, they're just saying what they want you to hear to stop the complaining and stop people from, from the dissent.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
They just want to shoot down the dissenters, and they just want to say what they think that you want to hear. And so everything that they say often is a spin on the truth. And so I think the reason why I bring this up is we are headed for some very hard times, especially in the United States. Now, it's already going hard for a lot of the other countries, and especially China and over in Europe. Bad progressive policies are just tearing apart a lot of these cities and areas. And so that is what is working its way over into the United States. So we have to be careful with how we vote, who we listen to, who we give our attention to. Just basically, we have to be super careful with all that they are portraying and putting on the news and telling us, because a lot of it is fake. It's not truth. It's a half truth, or it's just in order to tell you to keep you working so that way you can keep paying taxes to pay for their ridiculous plans and bills. And so that's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing, is they're telling you what you want to hear so that way they can prepare. I'll guarantee in the background right now that the government and the states and a lot of people, that they're low-key panicking because they know that we're headed for some really hard times. I mean, we are not producing what we need to produce. People are not buying what they need to buy because people are losing their jobs. Hours and wages are low and have remained low forever. It seems like the only people who are actually coming up and making money are elites and the people who have a ton of money to drop into buying assets. It's really hard for the middle class and the lower class to buy assets. I mean, there's not many of them out there for us. We could try to buy businesses or homes. Now, some people would maybe put gold or Bitcoin into that asset market. Those can fluctuate, and so those are tougher. And if you could get into a home right now with a good interest rate or a decent interest rate, and that potentially could be a good vehicle to save money. But right now, there are more houses on the market than there were back during COVID when all of that nonsense was going on. And so that right there, it's like, well, man, I used to think that I could just get into a home, try to get a decent price. Housing always goes up. And so I just need to pay the money and just keep working and paying that note. But what people are finding out is like that the certain houses the people are having a really hard time selling them, and they are trying to move houses and jump in and out of properties, but the people aren't buying, and they're finding out that there are a lot more people who are putting their houses on the market, let alone the fact that the Airbnb bubble is probably about to pop, because you have a ton of people who, especially during COVID, got all this money. They bought Airbnb and they bought houses, and now they put them up to rent on short-term rentals. Well, nobody's got any money to do anything now and right now. So people aren't going out and spending a bunch of money and going on vacations, because we are in a recession, and I'll bet we are knocking on the door of an actual depression. And who knows how long it's going to take us to get there, but I think we're going to get there. I mean, there's a lot of people who would argue that we're already here. And so that is where if I sit there and listen to the news or the mainstream media, the talking heads, the politicians, even the president, if I try to listen to any of these people, they are not going to tell me what I need to hear so that way I can better myself and my life. They are just going to tell what they need to do as a means to get what they want. And so we have to be super careful about what information we get. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be worth it? Yes, because depending on the information you get, it can save you from a bunch of pain in the future. With the housing market right now, that's one thing. I mean, I've been saving up. I've got a down payment ready to go on a house, but I don't want to jump into anything because the market is so touchy right now with tariffs, people not spending money, but the potentiality of houses that are starting to lower, the prices are starting to lower because inventory is starting to get up super high. And so that makes that super tough. And then, it's like, okay, well then maybe I could get into Bitcoin. Well, it's like Bitcoin is at an all-time high, and is it due for a correction? Who knows? You've got half of the people saying Bitcoin is going to reach $1 million by 2030, and then you have the other half of the financial group of people on either YouTubes or businesses, and they're saying that Bitcoin is potentially a scam and there's going to be a huge correction coming. And so you could be potentially buying here up at the top. Same thing goes for gold. It's like, do I get into gold? It's at an all-time high right now. And so what do we do, and how do we spend our money and save our money? And so from what I can tell is I just follow and do what the big people who are doing, let's say like a Warren Buffett or different financial leaders, try listen and see what does Ray Dalio say. And I try to get the information from a couple different people and then have to just form my own opinion, because everything they're saying, they have an agenda as well. And so you just can't listen to one source. You can't listen to one person. You have to spend a bunch, you got to spend some time and diversifying your opinions from the people that you get information from, because it's really hard to nail this stuff down in this type of economy with everything that's so tough to figure out what's going on, make heads or tails of, is the economy going up? Is it going down? Is the GDP increasing? Then why are people losing their jobs? One thing is for sure is the big corporations and everybody, they have to appease their stockholders and their investors. And so they are going to do whatever it takes to make sure those numbers are good. If those numbers are good, if they have to fire a bunch of people so that way they're still in the black and profitable, then that's exactly what they're going to do. And so it is just going to be super crazy over the next couple of months, but with time and being patient and trying to listen to what other people are doing, that is where I think people can potentially try to save themselves from the most pain. So right now, what's one of the few things that you can do is try to save your money. Warren Buffett, he has got more cash right now. It seems like he's waiting for some sort of financial collapse or correction to come so that way he can buy assets on a discount. And so that's one thing we can do, is just try to save money, work as much as you can, save as much money as you can, pay down your credit cards, so that way if something does happen, housing does go down, stock prices take a hit, if the economy starts really slowing down, and we already know if it slows down enough, they're going to start and turn up that money printer again, and they're going to start printing money. Then that'll force a bunch of money into the assets. So you'd want to get ahead of the game and get into an asset before all the money printing happens. And so, assets being businesses, homes, certain investments into stocks. Certain stocks are gonna weather the storm really well and certain ones aren't. I know for me, I'm personally right now taking a very small amount of money and I'm putting it into a couple different stocks, and I'm just seeing what it's doing and how it's moving, and to where potentially if I see stuff start to move a little bit better, I put more money into it. Like right now, the gold stocks just happen to be doing a little bit better. It seems like they're making more money than, Amazon and Apple. They're kind of going up and down. Same thing with Tesla is going up and down. Trying to time the market is really hard, and that's where a lot of the investors say that you shouldn't do that. And so that's why I'm trying not to time the market, but I want to at least understand the market and what's going on. And if I put $100 on some sort of stock, well, I can watch it for a couple of weeks or months, see what it's doing. If I see my gold stock starting to go up and it's been pretty consistent over 3 months, I might starting to put a little bit more money into it. If I notice that housing is starting to come down, well, I'm going to start looking into housing and how can I get myself into a better deal? What neighborhoods and what pitfalls can I avoid if I need to jump into a house? Because what happens is when all this stuff starts going down, you're going to have to start making moves. And the people who are waiting patiently with money and who aren't following exactly what the mainstream media is saying, they are the ones who stand to make the best investments, best decisions, and really to help set themselves up and their family for the best outcome. And so that's what it's going to take. It's going to take time to research. You got to listen to podcasts. You've got to spend less time on TV shows. You know, you can watch Netflix but you just got to pick and choose. It gets real easy. I know for me, it's like I can't even turn the TV on because I just get sucked into it and I start watching it. So it's like I've got to try to create a game plan for the day so that way I can just start trying to knock things off of my list. So that way I can, when the time comes and I need a break, well, I've been working all day, so now I'm going to take a break and listen to a podcast or 30 minutes of it, or I'm going to choose a podcast that I'm going to listen to while I have to do like the things I need to do around the house. And it's like, if I've got to do all of these things that only require half of my brain, well, then I'm going to go ahead and listen to a podcast and on a certain specific topic to try to help me get me there, so that way I can make better decisions. But so we've got to be real careful with the mainstream media, the government. They are not going to tell you what's going on. And I think we are in for a very volatile time right now. And so people need to be paying attention. People need to be, you could potentially be listening to the news, but you know that whatever side that side is battling for, well, they are going to do their best to try to make, you know, if it's CNN, they're going to make Trump look bad. If it's Fox, they're going to make Trump look good. Both sides are lying in a certain, you know, to a certain degree. And so I'm not going to take my information from those talking heads because they are all just working a job, getting paid, and getting probably kickbacks from certain people. It's like the lobbying in this United States has destroyed the open and you know, the market, to where you would think the market should just be what stuff does well, sells well, produces well, and you know, they're the ones who succeed. But that's not at all the way it is. It's a very complex market out there. The more I look into the economy and finances, it is super complex, but it's doable. It just takes time. You just got to take one baby step, one after another. And so it all depends on the information that you get, because the different opinions and information you get are going to help you form that opinion. And that opinion is what you're going to base your life decisions off of. And so in order to make the best decisions, we've got to get the most information, and then we've got to piece that together and try to, you know, do the best that you can to try to save yourself from pain, because time is money. And if you make bad decisions that waste time or money, it just puts you further and further and further behind on your goals. And that's what we can't afford in times like these, with volatile times and with all the nonsense wars. We've got money for war, but we have no money for the poor. And that is probably never going to change because of lobbying and all of the nonsense. And so you'll have people on the news telling you a bunch of nonsense that they need to get into these wars because of injustices and certain other things. And it's like, hey, you know what? I'm all for helping out people, but just like the airplanes say, if you're going down and the masks drop, you need to put that mask on yourself first, so then that way you can help and save other people. Well, America and the whole world, our financial system, the United States dollar is slowly going down, and we need to put the mask on ourselves first and get ourselves and situation figured out. We need to cut our spending. It's like we need to cut that government spending. We need to cut it in half, and maybe we can weather this storm. But that's not what's going to happen. They're going to inflate all of their problems away. And so the people who have assets and the people in the government, they are all going to be okay because they've got their finger on the button. So I need to get myself as close to those people and figuring out what those decisions are, because they're the only ones who are going to make it. The divide between the poor and the middle class and the upper class, it's just the middle class and the upper class is dividing, and the middle class is getting pushed into the poor class. And so the poor class is going to start getting into third world country status. And so there's people who, you know, they're not even going to be able to eat. And what are we going to do? We're going to have the government pay for everything. That's the reason, half of the reason why that last year we were at $34 trillion of debt. 1 year later, we're at $37 trillion of debt. it's just going to snowball. This ball is just going to get faster and bigger as it goes down the mountain. And there's nothing that the government can do, and there's nothing that a lot of these businesses, you're just going to have to be able to roll with the punches and do the best you can, getting the information as it changes, as people lie and the new information comes out. It's going to be crazy. We are in for some crazy times. And I think people are hoping, they were hoping that Donald Trump was going to get in and he was going to be able to right this ship. Wrong. There's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that none of these people could do unless he cuts that government by 50%. Then you cause a bunch of job losses and then people aren't spending money. There is no easy solution. We've been on easy street for probably 20 years, and now we are reaping what we sow. We have sowed bad seeds, and now we are reaping the poor crops that we have planted. And so it's gonna be crazy, and that's the whole reason why I felt like I got this. I need to make a video telling people to stop listening to the news 100%. Stop thinking that everything is going to be okay. You need to treat this right now as this is DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 3. We are in the time before the madness begins, and it will get crazier. It's going to get so much more wild that people have no idea. And as of right now, people will say, oh, you're just tripping, you're crazy, things are going to turn around and everything's going to be okay. Now, I think things eventually will, but it's not going to be without any pain. Just like that saying goes, it's always darkest before the light, and it is about to get real dark. It's about to get real dark on people. They're not going to know what to do. And so if you take the time right now before everything starts getting super crazy, people start really losing jobs. People start losing their homes. There's people that need to downsize and their homes are no longer worth what they bought it for. Now they're upside down. We are in some crazy times right now. And I don't think people are quite aware, because if you turn on the news, everybody is like, oh no, everything's okay. You got people who are just talking about politics like it's a joke. It literally is. Nothing that they say is actually helping the middle class.
Help me, I'm poor.
We are at odds with those people, and so they are not your friends.
I hate you. I hate you. I don't even know you, and I hate your guts.
So you need to take care of yourself and your family by knowing that what they're saying is lying. You need to get information from both sides. Form your own opinion. You need to find people that you can trust, and then hopefully hope that they're on the right track, and that you can follow what they're doing to make better decisions than what they're telling you on the TV or in the newspapers or on TikTok and Instagram. I mean, it's crazy right now, and it's about to get much more crazy. So I think that 100% we can make it through this, and there's a lot of people who are going to make a lot of money through this. And so it can be done, but it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen with the high school education that you were given by these governments and these schools. They want worker drones. That's what you were created for. That's your whole purpose. Your purpose is to serve and work towards the elite class, because they have all the money, they have all the resources, and they are actively trying to push that middle class away from them. They want more. They want 3 yachts instead of 2 yachts. They want a second mansion instead of a first mansion. And in all reality, that's the American way. And unfortunately, that's the way we've portrayed things. And everybody just wants more and more and more. And so once you start making that much money, money becomes your God. It's all you care about. So they will do and say whatever they want in order to get what they want. And so that's what they're doing. They are playing us like we are a fiddle. And so the people who are taking those words with a grain of salt and doing what they can, saving money, not spending, diversifying your portfolio across a couple different semi-stable assets, if you can do that, then you need to be doing that. And if you can save money, like the banks, I mean, even the banks, they'll tell you everything's okay, but if there's a huge crisis that starts hitting these banks, they're just going to have to print a bunch of money, and that's just going to cause the money in your pocket to be worthless. But they don't care about the money in your pocket because they all own assets. And if they print a bunch of money and the banks fail, they are going to bail them out. Just like in 2008, they're still going to get to keep their bonuses. They're going to be able to get their multi-million dollar bonuses, and everything's going to be okay because the banks and the politicians are all rubbing elbows. That's all they do. That's all they care about is each other. You aren't in that class. I am not in that class. We need to be working together against these. Now, we don't need to like revolt against them, but we need to be working as a team. What's going to help us out. We need to use our numbers to our advantage, but they're doing such a great job on the news by dividing everybody that we will never take them down because we're too busy fighting each other. And that's exactly where they want us, and that's exactly where we don't want to be.
If you take 100 black ants and 100 red ants and put them together in a glass jar, nothing happens. But if you shake the jar, the ants will start killing each other. The red ants will see black as the enemy, and the black ants will see red as the enemy. But the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. The same's true of society. Before we fight each other, we need to stop and ask ourselves who shook the.
And so, I'm gonna create more videos on this topic. Sometimes it can just be a rant. Sometimes I'm gonna be bringing together spreadsheets and information, other videos, and touching on other topics. But it's so important. And just even people in my family, in my circle, my friends, the people I work with, just creating this video so I can share it with them, because those are the people I directly rub elbows with. And I want to help people make it through these hard times because it's about to get crazy. And I don't think people have any idea until it really starts hitting the fan. And even then, we still aren't going to get the full picture because they're not going to tell us the full picture. So if we start now while times aren't super bad and hard, well, then we will stand a much better chance to weather this storm. That's going to be the name of the game, trying not to lose money and weather the storm. Sure, we want to make money, but it gets super tough in times like these. And there's a lot of investors out there and who are losing a lot of money, and because they are listening to. And so that's just what we need to do, is we need to start taking the time. We need to sacrifice a little bit of today for tomorrow. I need to watch 30 minutes less, an hour less of TV today, and spend that time looking into something that can help me. Gold, assets, housing, all of that stuff, Bitcoin. It's hard to say what these things are going to do. It's hard to say, is gold going to go up? Is Bitcoin going to go up? Is housing, is our dollar going to plummet? Are they going to start printing a ton of money? Are the banks going to go under and I'm not going to be able to get my money out? I mean, there are a lot of things going on. And so, slowly but surely, I'm diversifying my money in different banks. So that way, if one goes down, then it's not going to wipe me out. I'm putting my money into savings and high interest savings. And you may want to put some money. I mean, some people are putting money in treasury bonds and trying to get a small percentage. People are doing that. It's just there are a lot of vehicles in order to make and lose money. And so it's not going to get easier, But what we do know, and one of the great things about the working class, is we work hard. We consistently work, and so we're not scared to work. But it's tough when you have to work, and you don't have any money and a little bit of a safety net in case something crazy starts to go down. And I think that is what is on the horizon. So protect you, protect your family, protect your friends. Take the time right now to do what you can to help your family weather this storm. And that's the only people who are going to be starting to come out of this thing not as hurt or scathed as bad as, some people are going to get obliterated by what is coming. And it's going to be such a shame because you have people who are old that are ready to retire. You have people on Social Security who, if they start to cut Social Security, you got these people living on fixed incomes, housing is going up. It is just a recipe for disaster. And so I feel like we are one crazy black swan event away from kicking this depression off. And that is something that the mainstream media is not going to tell you, or the government, because they don't care about you. They want your vote, and that's all they care about. And until it becomes time for the next election, they'll start caring and saying things they want you to hear, and then just so they can get in office again. These people are not your friends. They, in all reality, probably hate you. And so do what you can to help you and your family. I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to try to share that knowledge. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the next one.